What's up there, everybody? How you doing today? Well, I'm doing pretty good. Except I can't find my clippers. Anyway, just want to make this quick video, talk about some darkness issues. I'm curious to know why people are attracted to darkness, to dark subjects, to negative or fearful type subjects. So I've always been interested in what drives people into that state of mind of, of kind of a fear-based lifestyle. And I've kind of ragged on people in the past for being that way, but I've started to understand that it goes much deeper than a person just choosing, obviously, to be, negative. I mean, so many things that happen to us in our lives affect the outcome of our behaviors, but the particular darkness I'm talking about here are those who are attracted to occult knowledge or ancient mythology, not on the basis of wanting to learn anything, but on the basis of of wanting to learn, but rather not just for the educational factor of it, but for the darkness of it, to be able to talk about these dark creatures like Cthulhu, let's say. And it's amazing that entire cults and beliefs have been based on some fictional works by authors that originally put this stuff out as fiction. So I'm going to start off with my example here as the Necronomicon. That's a book that I've heard about. That's an H.P. Lovecraft book. I've heard about this since I was a kid, and I remember when I was younger and somebody mentioned the Necronomicon, and they said, "Oh, it's the Satanic Bible." I never really questioned it or thought much about it until this weekend when I was at a bookstore and I saw it sitting there on the shelf. I'm like, gotta have it. So I picked it up and I started reading, and it's basically H.P. Lovecraft's stories. They're fictional works, many of them based on dreams or thoughts that he had. But he was attracted to the darkness. Now there have been a lot of people who have based cults and groups on some of the figures within this, within these books and these stories. I guess one of the guys, I watched a documentary about Lovecraft, and one guy said that there are even people out there who have believed that Star Wars is real. That there are people out there who, one guy he said who believes that Star Wars really happened just on another dimension, and another guy who thinks it happened a long time ago in time, and then people who want to speak Klingon from Star Trek, that kind of stuff. To the point where it becomes an obsession, and the line between reality and fantasy becomes so skewed that one doesn't even know anymore. And I think that it's, now this is just from my view of, I guess my opinion, it seems to be an escape mechanism for a lot of people to attach themselves to an idea that we're all doomed. Which is why I've talked in the past about, fear campaigns and why I'm so opposed to people who talk about, Nibiru, everything from that to the way that the government's trying to kill us all. And I just got done watching this video about Ebola. It's like 25 facts about Ebola. And of course, all the, half the comments in there were saying, oh, it's, designed to kill us off. And other ones, like, people were talking about, oh, if they let any more, and one guy says, if they let any more niggers in this country, I'm going to kill myself. Like, what the fuck, dude? What kind of an asshole, thinks this way? But anyway, the negative way that people react to things, as if it's, I don't know, it's kind of a hateful way of being, and people seem to enjoy being this way. And I'm trying not to get off base here, because I'm not saying at all that people who are involved or interested in occult knowledge are evil or hateful. That's not what I'm saying. But I have been told by so many, let's say, Christians that, occultism is this and this and this, and I've met a lot of Christians who say that, people who follow these particular gods are, feeding off the negative energy, this and that. Not just Christians, just people in general, I guess. The point being about negative energy being not the thing that you want to attract. But negative energy has power. I don't get into the discussions about the, Bohemian Grove or the elite and what they do in their spare time or what kind of bull gods they worship or any of that, but I know that it goes on. And I know there's a lot of talk about satanic worship, and I think that a lot of that is mistakenly occult worship of demigods and mythological creatures and ideas that have been manifested to hold power, whether or not they existed or not. When we give something power, we create it, we manifest it over maybe a period of time. We don't know how that works. I mean, I'm not going to sit and pretend like I do. But it seems like we create our own realities to an extent, and so when negativity is out there being created, I guess people are all affected by it. Every one of us is affected by that. So, anyway, I started reading this first story in this book, the Necronomicon. It's called Dagon, and it's reading it with an open mind and without any preconceived notions about what the story was about. I understood the archetype behind it instantly. A boat becomes marooned on an island that pops up out of the sea mysteriously, and he hikes around this island, and I think I told the story before, but you can just look and kind of laugh and understand the archetypes and the meaning behind the symbolism there without having to take a story literally, Now, when we read these old books, like Lovecraft, when they try to make stories appear as if they're real, it's easy to get sucked in and think that they are, but they're really just symbols. And a lot of them came to many of these writers in dreams and whatnot. And I do believe that the universe kind of speaks to us through our dreams and our subconscious, so perhaps these do have some sort of significance historically. But, to think that Cthulhu is a real creature or you could call it Cthulhu or Cthulhu, the true pronunciation is not supposed to be pronounced. And that alone tells you about the story. It's a creature that's name is not pronounceable by man. And Lovecraft said that anyway. And the idea behind that is so archetypal. You can see that they don't... I guess it takes years of understanding, literature and the meanings behind things before you can go back and look at it again and say, oh, that's what they were talking about. So many of the classics are based on these formulas, but the question remains, why attracted to the darkness? H.P. Lovecraft had serious mommy issues. Okay, I don't mean that harshly, but his mother was overprotective but not loving enough, and he had all these problems with his childhood, and it carried on into his adulthood, and this came out in his work. He was frustrated, and that and many other things that happened. But when you see an author, and you can see how his frustrations come out in writing, then we can kind of compare that to the way that people behave in general. You know what I mean? People get frustrated about all kinds of things, and it's usually based on some deep-rooted fear or misunderstanding. And I think a lot of the times it's traced back to death. I mean, this is why we make up so many of these myths and archetypes, to understand where we come from and where we're going. Because, to admit that we don't know would be somehow horrific. So, the search goes on. But I think a certain personality type attaches to these ideas very strongly and likes them. Like, for me, I can pick up the Necronomicon and read it, and it's interesting to me. But I take it for what it is, stories. I'm not going to get attached to it or become obsessed with it. And I'm sure not, going against any type of, it's not like forbidden reading or anything. These are just stories. And I always wondered, why were Christians so upset about it? Why did people tell me it was the Satanic Bible? Because it deals with dark subjects. People don't want to hear about dark subjects. But it's the reality of the world we live in, that we have to face these things. I'm just very curious about what kind of power it really is in these, these adults who have these adults who have grown up, gone to school, got educations, become members of society, and then chosen to join an organization where they convey these ridiculous rituals for some particular reason in order to attain what power, status. There's a lot of symbolism involved, a lot of just trust within the group. Like, this is where the secret societies come in, and then people start to hate the secret societies because of the things they do. I'm not a big fan of secrets. I think that information should be shared freely. I guess I understand that people are going to do what they're going to do. And as long as there are people who go for the light, there will be people that go for the dark. I'm not a dualist. I don't believe in a dualist nature. I don't believe in light and dark and good and evil. I have a view of things just existing as they are, with whatever purpose they have, and to use our human minds to try to understand the deeper meaning behind why people die or why this happens. We're just drawing conclusions. And we don't have the right to do that. We don't have the tools, the faculties, to be able to understand the full picture, and that's what makes us individuals. So there's a lot of talk and pretending out there. People claim to know all about these, ancient mythological gods and why people do this and that, but there's very little real basis for a lot of the claims that are made, such as telling people that, oh, that's the Satanic Bible, that kind of stuff. It's misinformation just gets passed around. People will buy into it, and it's the world we live in, I guess. I don't know what to think about it all. I'm not here dissing or promoting these practices. I guess it is what it is. I mean, I don't know or want to know what goes on in the darker realms, because it doesn't seem to be something that is proper in the order of nature, if that makes sense. I guess I embrace the light things. Like, I'm really into celestial events. It's not that I don't believe that there's power in these things, because I do, and that's the thing. I harvested my buds today under the eclipse, during the actual moment of the partial eclipse today, with my beliefs that, somehow that has some effect on the cannabis. Why? I don't know. I don't have a reason to believe it. I just feel it, so I do it. And I think a lot of the things that people do, they just feel it. And when you try to explain a feeling and use that as empirical evidence, then you have really no argument. And it's just like when a person, I guess a perfect example is when a Christian is telling me, I found the Lord, and if you find the Lord, then you'll feel this good too. And then trying to explain to the person, you've already found that degree of happiness, but they refuse to understand it because they're not in your shoes. And there's no way for either one of you to ever really explain to each other how you really feel, because we're individuals. So, as far as taking anything, I guess take everything with a grain of salt. Life should not be a struggle, but it sure as hell isn't just all fun and games. We got a lot of crap to face, and hopefully we do it with a little bit of tact. Just educating ourselves, I guess. I don't really know. Just keep the positive, though. I don't know what the negative has to offer, but it's obviously, if you want to put it into those terms, selling your soul to the devil, if you will. Whatever all that may be, it's just seems to be something that a human would not want to do, regardless of what kind of power they're endowed with. And I take it as the archetype, the symbolism, to say this person wants power over virtue or integrity, or they want money over integrity. So many of the stories are just based on our own foolish desires, and I think we do the best we can to, we should do the best we can to be honest with ourselves. And when we get too sucked into something that's negative, ask ourselves why we're doing it. You know, dwelling on the negative never brought me any happiness, but I guess for some they obviously enjoy it very much. So to each his own, I guess. Anyway, namaste everybody. I'm out.